I think I could be reading a new favorite book of all time. Well, hello people of the internet, my name is Kevin and welcome back to another video. First of all, how are we all doing? I hope we are all doing good. I hope you're thriving. I hope you're living your best life, and I just hope that you're happy. Anyways, so for today's video, I want to do a video that I've been wanting to do for a while now, which is reading my best friend's favorite books. And those three friends that I'm talking about are going to be books of Chloe, Caitlin from Kate Literature, and Jamie from Jamie's Library. I want to be reading all three of their favorite books. I want to do a reading vlog where I read all three, non-spoilers, so you won't have to worry about any spoilers in this video. There won't be any. And give you guys all of my thoughts and see if I like their favorite books too. I feel like I will because they have immaculate taste. I hope I'm gonna like all three of these. And of course, I really trust their recommendations and I really appreciate their recommendations, which actually leads perfectly into today's sponsor of the video, which is Likewise. So thank you so much, Likewise, for sponsoring this video. Have you ever finished reading a book and you don't know what you want to read next? Or you just find it really difficult to get recommendations? Or whenever you finish watching a movie or a TV show, you find yourself scrolling on Netflix for ages trying to find the next thing that you want to watch and your next recommendation? Well, Likewise is the perfect place for you to get those recommendations. Likewise is powered by a combination of smart technology and real recommendations from real people, giving you the most personalized recommendations on the platform. So overall, Likewise is just literally the best place to go to get recommendations. Basically how the platform works is when you sign up and make your profile, you go through books, TV shows and movies, and also podcasts, and you basically list about 10 of them that you like and loved, and also you just pick like your favorite genres, and then based off of that information, Likewise gives you recommendations based on the ones that you previously liked. And if it recommends you something that you have already seen or you've watched or you've read, you can just say you've read it and like say what you thought about it, and then it just gives you more recommendations. And it's honestly just such an easy way to get recommendations to find out what you're going to read next, because finding out what to read next can be so difficult. There's so many different features on the app that I really enjoy. One in particular would be lists. So this is something that you can do on your profile. You can create a list. So if somebody follows you on the app, they can go and look at your lists and see what you've listed. So for example, a list that I have made on my profile, Irish Reader, is my favorite books of all time. So if you guys follow me on Likewise and you go to my profile, you'll see a list of books that I think are my favorite books of all time. And maybe there'll be some recommendations for you guys and you'll find out something that you want to read based on my lists. And vice versa, like I can check out your profile and see what books you've listed and see if I can get a recommendation from you. It works both ways. So if Likewise sounds like something that you would be interested in and you want to start getting some new recommendations, then definitely go and click the link in my description to go and download the app. The app is completely free for you to download and to join, and also be sure to go follow me at Irish Reader. And by downloading the app and clicking the link in my description, you are helping my channel as well, so I really appreciate that. And yeah, so thank you once again to Likewise for sponsoring this video. Okay, so now we might as well move on to the TBR for the video and what I'm planning to read. So I think I'm going to go in order of the way I want to read these books, like who I want to start with. So the first person that I do want to start with is Caitlin from Kate Literature, of course. Obviously, I'll also have Caitlin, Chloe, and Jamie all linked down below. I'm sure you all know who they are at this point, but in case you don't, they're all linked down below. You should go check them out. So for Caitlin, I am going to be reading, I'm pretty sure you probably see this coming, The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. So I have actually never read The Great Gatsby. I really don't know much about it. I know it's set in the 1920s era. Like, that's about all I know. I know in the movie, of course, Leonardo DiCaprio's in it. That's about it. Like, I really don't know much else about it. I know it's one of the other classics that's like quite enjoyable to read. Like, I do quite struggle to read classics. They're just not my favorite type of book to read. I can get quite bored reading them. I find them hard to consume. But I do want to read this because of course it's Caitlin's favorite book, and I do want to give it a shot and see how I find it. So hopefully I will enjoy The Great Gatsby. Then I want to read Miss Books with Chloe's favorite book, which is going to be Starfish by Akemi Dawn Bowman. Now, I do know bits and pieces about this book, so I know it follows a main character who is biracial. I believe she's Japanese and American. I'm pretty sure it also deals a lot with mental health representation and anxiety representation in here. That's all I really know. I don't know too much about the story. All I know is that Chloe read it like last year, and when she read it on a whim. Like, it was just a random book she picked off her bookshelf. She read it, she cried, it instantly became one of her favorite books of all time. And I bought it when she did that reading vlog, but it's just been sitting on my bookshelf for like a year and I haven't read it. So now is the perfect time to do it. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one. And then finally, the last book that I have is for Jaime. So of course, I think you probably all know where this is gonna go. And I'm going to be reading The Secret History by Donna Tartt. Now, all I know about this one is that it's a dark academia book. Really don't know much else about it. I know it is a quite popular book and like it came out a long time ago and a lot of people have read it and stuff. I actually don't think I've really read any dark academia book. Like, I actually don't think I have. Based on my own knowledge, I really don't think I've ever read a dark academia book. So this could be the start of like a new favorite like subgenre for me. So I'm looking forward to it. So out of the 3 books, I personally think my favorite will probably be either Starfish or The Secret History. I just think they will be my favorites of the 3 books. I think Great Gatsby is probably gonna be my least favorite just because it's a classic and everything, but I do have good hopes for it. I do think it will be one of the rare classics that I actually do like. They're the 3 books that I'm planning to read for this. So let's just get to it. Let's see how these are gonna go, and we're gonna start with The Great Gatsby. Okay, so I'm about to start reading The Great Gatsby, and I was like opening this and I was like getting ready to start reading, and there's a long introduction. Like, how many pages is it? Okay, 1. All of that is just an introduction. Sorry, but I'm not reading that. I'm not reading that. I hope it's not important. I asked Chloe, because I'm on FaceTime with her, and I said, do I need to read the introduction? And she was like, oh my god, don't do it. So we're gonna be skipping that. But then I skipped the introduction and there's literally a bibliography with all these references. And I'm like, what? Like, I'm really confused. Why is there references? Like, is this based on like true events or something? That like you need to have reference? I don't get it. I'm really confused as to why there's references. Like, references is usually because like you don't want to get plagiarism for copying something. So like, I don't get why there's references unless the references come from the introduction. I feel like that's probably where the references come from. But like, that's a lot of references. Like I said, we're gonna just go start. I actually got to the part where it literally says where the book is starting. Here we go. Chapter 1. Arial bookmark. Doesn't really suit the vibe of the book, to be honest, but I'm just in a silly goofy mood and I'm being chaotic, so. Gatsby, here I come. Okay guys, so I've literally read a page, and I mean literally a page. Like, that's the page I read. I flipped over, it ends like a little bit of a paragraph there, and I'm just like, wow. Wow. I really didn't think this would be a book I would enjoy. Just because, like, classics usually just don't really do it for me. Like, they involve too much brain work. Like, I just feel like I'm not smart enough for classics. Like, they just really go over my head. Like, the parts that I think so many people love them, and like the reason people love them, are things that go over my head and I don't pay attention to them. Like, people are like, oh my god, but the writing was so stunning. Like, the way that they use this and this to create this, like with their imagery and metaphors, all that kind of stuff. Like, that's something that just kind of goes over my head usually, and I don't really pay attention to it because I can be like, oh my god, I'm kind of bored. Like, I'm not smart enough to figure this out. Like, there's these words are just too big of words. Like, I just don't know what these words mean. That's usually how I am, and I'm not sure if that's the way other people feel. I just feel like I'm not smart enough sometimes for classics. But like, as I said, I can understand why Caitlin loves them so much, because Caitlin is literally one of the smartest people I've ever met, so it just makes sense. Like, I get it. She's just such an intellectual, so of course she understands everything. Like, why wouldn't she? Like, she literally is iconic. I was reading it and I got to a quote, and there was already a couple of different stunning quotes at the first passage as well, but like, I read this one and I was kind of like, wow. Like, I quite loved that quote. And I also didn't feel like I was in the mood for a classic. Like, I didn't feel like I was, but clearly reading that and then me being like, oh my god, wow. Clearly I must be in the mood for it. But anyways, the quote is, Gatsby turned out all right at the end. It is what preyed on Gatsby, what foul dust floated in the wake of his dreams that temporarily closed out my interest in the abortive sorrows and short-winded elations of men. Like, that's so stunning. Who would have thought? Who would have thunk? Who saw this coming? I know I'm literally on the first page, like, I could end up changing by the end of the book, but like, at least if I don't even end up liking the book, at least I just had this moment, and this moment being like, wow, stunning. Like, at least we got this. Okay, so I haven't read more since I spoke. I have read 2 more pages, but I've decided that I'm going to actually get the audiobook for this because the font for this book is so tiny. It's actually giving me a headache trying to read it. And like, just look how small. Okay, it actually doesn't even look that small. And it's really just giving me a headache trying to read it. So I'm going to do the audiobook while like obviously following along with the actual book. And I think that's what I'm going to do. However, I actually was looking for the audiobook, and one is narrated by Jake Gyllenhaal, and then one was narrated by Kendra Houston or something like that. And you know what? I'm going to go with that version because I am a Taylor Swift stan, so I cannot go and listen to a Jake Gyllenhaal one. If you know, you know. And I know all too well why I'm not going to be doing that. She's a genius. I'm actually so... sorry, that was actually so clever of me to pull off. Wow, I'm actually so smart. Okay, so I'm going to be changing to the Jake Gyllenhaal audiobook because...
In my younger and more vulnerable years, my father gave me some advice that I've been turning over in my mind ever since. Whenever you feel like criticizing anyone, he told me, just remember that all the people in this world haven't had the advantages that you've had.
Is that a joke? So Jake Gyllenhaal it is. I discussed it myself. Like, I'm so sorry, Taylor, if you ever see this video. But it has to happen.
He didn't say any more, but we've always been unusually communicative in a reserve.
No. Cut the cameras. Okay guys, so I know I haven't been vlogging or giving much of an update about The Great Gatsby, but I am on page 83 now, and I only have like 20 or so pages after the book. And I actually am really enjoying this, as opposed, like, the fact it's a classic and me actually enjoying it, that's something that rarely comes out of my mouth. So I am quite enjoying it. I don't think it's gonna be 5 stars just because personally I find it difficult to me ever give a classic a 5 stars just because there's always something missing for me with a classic, or just like, you know, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, there's some sense of like how you have to like analyze it in a way, like really use your critical brain, which I don't mind using, but like obviously I read for fun and enjoyment and stuff. So like when it comes to classics, I feel like I have to analyze things and like draw on like how there's metaphors being used to represent certain things and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes when I'm reading a book, I don't want to think about all those things. I just want to like read it and have fun. I think that's probably one of the reasons, like it just reminds me that I'm in school when I read a classic. But like currently this is a 4-star vibe. Like honestly, I'm really enjoying it, and like it's one of those classics that doesn't actually be very boring when you read it. Like it's very easy to read, and it's also not one of those classics where it's like when you read the sentence you're kind of like, oh, what does that actually mean? Like I don't really understand what they're talking about. Like it's really easy to understand, which is one of the reasons why I'm actually liking it, because some classics that I've read for like school and like college and stuff, like you'd read it and like you won't understand what the hell they're saying. Like I don't even understand what that means. Like it's just complicated English or like olden style English that you're just like, I really don't understand what's being said. But that's definitely not the case with The Great Gatsby. Anyways, I just wanted to say all that first before I jump into the fact that Tom can literally... I'm not gonna say the D-I-E word, but that's what I'm thinking. Cause like, honestly, hate him. I hate him, I hate him, I hate him. And like, I said it to Caitlin at the start of the book because I hated him at the very start, and I was like, I really don't like him, like, ew. And she was like, yeah, don't worry, like, this is how you're meant to feel, like, you're meant to dislike him, and all this different stuff. And then she was like, it's like a comparative. And then I was like, oh my god, exactly like how, like, you're supposed to be comparing Gatsby and Tom, and like how they both represent two different ideas of like the American dream. Stunning. Like when I did that, I was like, oh, this all makes sense now. And then like there's the East egg and the West egg, and they represent like a good egg and a bad egg. Like it just all made sense, and I was able to draw on that comparative. And I was like, oh my god, I feel like I'm an English major, even though I literally am an English major, but I feel like a smart English major. So we love being educated. Love that for me. Yeah, so there's just parts in here like where Tom is literally full of misogyny. He is racist, like, ew, 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 ew. Like, I literally read a part from him, and he was just talking about, like, marriage being, like, oh, no, it's actually disgusting. He's talking about, like, having, like, interracial couples, and he's like, that's gonna take over the world. Like, the world is just going so weird, and it's like everyone's throwing family life out the window, and next thing you know there's going to be a intermarriage between black and white. And I'm like, and what's the issue with that? Like, oh, I hate him. I actually hate him so much. And I just feel like there's also drama about to happen, and honestly I'm so here for it. Like I did not expect The Great Gatsby to have tea, and a tractor just drove past my window, so that's just random. But anyways, like I did not expect this book to have like drama and tea and like this, and I'm like, oh, I'm here for it. But yeah, I have a couple pages left, and I'll come back on my final thoughts, but as of right now, 4 stars. Okay, I'm back because I have just finished The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, And I really like the ending. I think that the ending has a lot to like deeply dive into, and I can 100% see why this is studied in schools and like in secondary school and stuff, because obviously it's on Irish curriculum as well, and I know it's on the curriculum in so many other schools too. I can 100% see why, because especially that ending, it just makes sense, and like the quotes were really stunning. I get it, like I see the comparisons to the American dream and all of these different things with like Gatsby. There's so much I want to say like without spoiling, but I get it. Like, I get it. And I think I'm actually going to give it a 3.5 stars, because I felt like maybe I was only giving it a 4 because, yes, I did like it. Like, I'm not saying I didn't. I just think that maybe I'm only giving it a 4 because I'm like, wow, this is actually a classic that I'm not hating. And like, as opposed to my whole, everything I've ever read, like, is it actually a 4-star? So I feel like I was being like, having that in the back of my mind, just be like, oh my god, it's actually a classic, you like those, so you should just give it 4 stars. So I just don't think that's right. So I'm gonna give it 3.5 because I think that feels right to me, 3.5. I can 100% see why this is like Caitlin's favorite book. Obviously, it just makes so much sense to me, and I think she'll be happy that I did enjoy it as well, because this is not something that I obviously would read usually. So I'm very pleasantly surprised that I actually enjoyed it. I didn't like hate my time reading it or anything. So yeah, I think that's a really good time for me, and I'm happy about that. So now that that's done, I'm going to start with Miss Books with Chloe's book, which is Starfish, of course, by Kimi Dawn Bowman. And I'm honestly so obsessed with this cover, and I'm just ready to read. It looks like it has a lot of short chapters as well. So I was gonna get the audiobook for this as well, but then I saw that like the chapters were so short, so I was like, no, it's fine. Like, I should be fine to read it, because when a book has really short chapters, I tend to fly through it. So hopefully that will happen. Okay guys, so I have started Starfish and I'm up to page 64 of it right now. I'm on chapter 11, and I think I could be reading a new favorite book of all time. I feel like I'm literally reading this at the most perfect time for myself, and there's like parts that I'm reading and it's feeling very cathartic, and I'm relating and really connecting to Kiko's character. Like, I'm loving her, I'm really connecting to her. There's just so many different things. Like, there's a little funny quote that just reminded me so much of Chloe. So the two characters are like talking about something, and they're talking about like how you did like talk about how you feel or just tell someone no or something. Kiko's just saying, oh, like saying those words would actually cause me physical pain. And then Emery, her best friend, goes, you need to work on that. And then Kiko just goes, I know. The reason that's so funny is because like that's something that Chloe would say to me so often. She's like, you need to work on that. And I'm like, yeah, I do. Like, it's literally us. And so I actually have also, by the way, I am annotating, because I was just reading it and I was like, you know what, I need to annotate, because like, yeah. So I underlined that part on it, and I literally wrote me and Chloe, because at the end of like most of the chapters in here, because the main character Kiko is like really into art and like drawing and stuff, like she wants to go to art school and all that kind of stuff, she kind of like, at the end of the chapter, she will draw how she's feeling and draw her emotions. And it's written in a way, like obviously what the drawing is, but the writing of like what the drawing is so lyrical and beautiful, and just, like I've honestly nearly underlined every single one of the drawings, because it's literally just so beautiful and represents how she felt in that chapter, in that moment, or something that happened. And it's just so beautiful. Also, another thing about this book that I'm just really liking, because obviously I'm connecting and I'm having my own experience with the book and like Kiko's character, but at the same time, I'm reading it and I'm seeing things that I know is the reason that Chloe connected to it. And just seeing that, I think is just so stunning. I feel like I'm having the experience that I know so many people have had when they read Love, Simon, and they picture and they can see why I related to it. Like, I feel like I'm having that experience myself with a different friend, like obviously with Chloe. And I've never had that. So I think that's just stunning, and I'm just loving it. And yeah, like I'm literally annotating it. I think that says a lot. And like the fact I'm underlining and literally writing in the book, and this isn't a secondhand copy or anything, this is brand new. I do not usually like to write in my books or anything like that, but that's just how it went. I was like, no, this, I just know already this book is going to be, honestly, dare I even say, it has potential right now to be my favorite book of the year even. I'm connecting this much and it's only 64 pages into it, and like I just know like it's going to get even better as it goes. So Honestly, if I could give it more than 5 stars at this current moment in time, like I would. Chloe's also on FaceTime, so she is witnessing all of this.
Hello, I'm very, very happy.
I will talk to you guys later, but as of right now, you guys should all go to read this. Okay guys, so it's much later and I've obviously read a lot more. I'm up to page 117 now of the book, and just... I feel like this book literally... I can't express how I feel like this was literally the most perfect time for me to read this book. Like, I've never felt a book has just come into my life at the most perfect time for me to read it. And I genuinely think that this was literally the right time for me to read it. The perfectness is just what I needed. Like, I can't put into words. Like, I have that with Simon vs. Homo Sapiens Agenda because that came into my life and I really needed it too. But I feel like this is coming at a different aspect in terms of like mental health and stuff. I just think it's really coming at such a good time for me. And I'm just feeling a lot of emotions reading it. I just feel so seen. I feel that I'm just connecting to Kiko on such a whole level, and like I just can't get over it. When I'm reading this, I can just see Chloe too. Like, I get Chloe and like why she loves this book so much. Like, it's just all the full experience, and it's literally just such a stunning moment. And there's just so many different quotes that I've been underlining because I have been annotating, and I have like, you know, been writing my little notes and like underlining stuff. She's out with like one of her old school friends, and he's taking a picture of her and stuff, and he like basically tells her like, you're so beautiful, like I really hope that one day you can look at yourself and realize that you are beautiful and all of these different things and everything. And then he asks, can like you take a photo of her again? And she like hesitates, but then she nods and she smiles and she's really happy. And you know how I said like at the end of every chapter she like paints like her emotions? So the one for this one it says, I paint a carousel of mirrors and dragons, and inside one of the mirrors is the happiest girl alive, desperate to break free. I just think that's such a beautiful illustration. You can really get so much from that. Like, what I'm getting from that is that there is this really happy person inside of her, but it's just waiting to break free because she just really needs to leave her hometown and get away from her mother, because her mother's really toxic and the relationship with her mother is disgusting. Like, the mother is just so gross. And I just see myself in that, not in terms of the mother aspect, because I have a really beautiful relationship with my mother and like my family, like stunning. But like the whole aspect, like her wanting to break free from her town, because I do want to get away from here. And so I just see myself in that because I feel like I have the happiness inside of me and it's just waiting to come out, and I just feel like it's not where I'm living at the moment, and once I go somewhere else that happiness is gonna come out. That's just how I feel. And so reading that, I just felt like, yeah, I felt seen in that. I was like, this is it. And I literally just underlined it and I said, I actually cannot cope with this book. I do also want to say that if you do want to pick up this book, definitely look up the trigger warnings because there is quite a few. For example, like main ones are like sexual assault and like child molestation. So definitely look those up. There's also like depression and like mental health representation too. So definitely look up the trigger warnings if this is a book that definitely interests you. And yeah, I don't actually think I've really said what it's about. So basically it follows this main character named Kiko, and she loves to paint, she loves art, and she wants to go to this art school called Prism. She lives with her 2 brothers and her mom. Her mom and her do not have a good relationship. They have a really bad relationship because of something that happened in Kiko's past. And it was just something that her mother just didn't deal with right and awfully, to be honest. And basically it's kind of just all of that. It's her dealing with stuff that happened in her past, and like obviously she expresses her emotions through her painting. Like her going through like graduating high school, like what college is she going to go to, what she's going to do with her life. It's just a lot to it. Definitely a sad one, so just bear that in mind. But I would very much highly recommend it as of right now. And I'm just gonna go read some more, but I wanted to do some updates and vlog my thoughts. Okay guys, so I'm up to page 168 now, and also the first tear has fallen. It was just one little single tear moment. It was a little like cute tear, to be honest. Like, we kind of loved her and appreciated her. It was just a quote I read and I was like, nah. And honestly, the way I'm annotating this, I honestly feel that if anyone picks up this book and looks at my annotations, it's honestly like reading my diary. And that's kind of scary, but like at the same time, it's also beautiful. You know what I mean? There's a reason Chloe loves it. There's a reason I'm loving it. And there's a reason you need to read it. Okay guys, so I'm up to page 230 of the book right now, and like honestly want to keep reading, of course, and I want to finish it before I sleep, but like at the same time, no offense, who said books were allowed to end? I don't remember agreeing to that rule. That's kind of disgusting if you ask me. On page 217, I literally, as you can see, highlighted quite a lot of it. I literally couldn't fit in what I wanted to say about that whole passage, so I literally wrote a note with all of my thoughts. And now I'm kind of in like a little headspace that I'm like, I want to kind of start journaling for myself. So that's happening. Okay guys, so I have finished reading Starfish, and safely can confirm this is a new favorite book of all time. It's definitely at the number 2 spot now behind Simon vs. the Homo sapiens agenda. Like, read it. Read it. Read it. Read it. I really don't understand why more people aren't talking about this book. It's absolutely stunning. There is just, it's so impactful. I literally feel like so much of this book, it's my thoughts, and someone finally just took my thoughts and put it onto a piece of paper, in terms of the mental health representation and just like social anxiety representation and just so much stuff, like even the trauma representation, so much of that. Like I literally feel like someone just took what I've been thinking and just put it into words for me, and that's why I was underlining things. I was just like, exactly, like I was crying. I was just, yeah, it's such a beautiful book and just amazing, so emotional as well. So definitely really need to look into, if you want to read it, like the trigger warnings, because there is quite a lot, like suicide, sexual assault, child molestation. There is a lot. There's emotional abuse, like toxic parents, like there's so much in here that I definitely think you need to look them up and make sure it's something that you think you can read and you're in the right headspace for it and everything. I just absolutely loved it. Like literally favorite book of the year so far, like 100%, without a shadow of a doubt. Like literally never even crossed my mind like, oh, is it? Like it 100% is. It 100% is. I just loved it. The ending was stunning. Kiko's journey to self-love was just stunning. Yeah. There's way too much I can say about this book, and I don't want to get too much into little itty bitty details because I feel like it was a very personal experience for me reading this book, and like literally so many of my annotations, I really feel like if someone picks this up and reads it, you're going to be reading my diary. And yeah, so it's just such a beautiful book. Loved it so much, and I haven't felt this way about a book in such a long time. Exactly this book. And Miss Books with Chloe is literally here, and she got to experience it all, and she's very happy.
Oh my god, I'm literally over the moon, and we watched my old vlog.
Yeah.
When I read it, and it was very interesting. And we had such like similar, have you said how we both like we have such similar reactions to reading, like we related so hard but to like different aspects of the book, and it's just stunning.
Yeah, so like there's parts in the book, like obviously the main character is mixed raced, and there's a lot of part of that where Chloe obviously related really hard to that, and then for me lots of the parts that I was connecting to is to do with the mental health and the social anxiety parts. And even there was one part in it where there's 2 different things being said, and it's like a parallel, like one person feels a certain way and the other person feels another way. And literally I read that part of the Chloe and I was like, oh my god, you need to go to this page and read this quote, and I underlined one part of it, and then she's like, that's actually so interesting because I underlined the part above it. And it's like, it's just so weird how people can relate to different things, and like that is a pure example of like Chloe related to this part but I related to the opposite of what that was saying. Like it was just such an amazing experience, honestly. And I literally, Chloe was on FaceTime pretty much the entire time I was reading the book. I think there was like 40 pages I read when she wasn't there because she was asleep. And yeah, it was just so good. And from me and Chloe, go read it.
Go read it!
Full offense.
Full offense.
I'm watching. You better be going to read it. Okay, so now that I've finished that, I of course am going to jump into The Secret History for Miss Jamie's favorite book. And I did already start 62 pages into it, so I'm going to be continuing on from there. This book is like 600 and something pages, so looking forward to that. And I hope I'm going to give this like a really good chance, because obviously I just had a really stunning experience with Starfish. So now I feel like obviously like I have that like that happened, and it's just like, is it even fair to this book? But like I think like I'm going to obviously give it the same love and like focus that it deserves. And like what I've read so far I have liked, like I haven't disliked or anything. So We're gonna see. Okay guys, so I am up to page 79 of the Secret History, and I had to take a moment to stop my vlog because the main character just picked up The Great Gatsby and read it, and he's drawing on parallels between himself and Gatsby, and I'm like, what a coincidence that in this vlog I literally just read The Great Gatsby and now I'm reading this and the character's talking about The Great Gatsby. Like, that's just so funny to me, like how that just worked out. Like, it's just I find it really funny and I just love that. And yeah, so I actually am quite into this book as like in terms of enjoyment. Like, I also have switched to the audiobook as well, and it's narrated by Donna Tartt and I'm loving it. It's just such a fun book. Like, these characters are so interesting. There's one character who's like really problematic and stuff like that, but like he's meant to be like that and like you're meant to dislike him, like all that kind of stuff, and it's definitely working. And I'm like, yep, don't like you. But if you've read the prologue or the very first page of this book, you know like what's gonna happen, so you're kind of like, I'm happy about that. And yeah, so it's basically just following this main character named Richard, who has gone to Hampton College in Vermont, and he is there and he is basically joined this class that studies Greek, which is led by this teacher named Julian, and he only has like 5 students that he takes on, called Francis, Henry, Camilla, Charles and Bunny. They're the 5 students that he only has, and he doesn't accept anyone else into it, except he has accepted Richard into the group. So now there's 6 students, and that's all the stuff there. So like, they're the only students, they all only study Greek. Like, in order to be in his class you have to drop every other subject, you can only do Greek. And all of this stuff, it just seems that there's a lot of mystery going on, lots of different stuff gonna happen. There's already a little subplot moment that just happened that I'm like, ooh, what's gonna happen there? And then like there seems to be tension between the group because like Henry doesn't like Bunny because Bunny always like somehow forgets his wallet and makes you pay for things and all this kind of stuff. And there's just so much stuff there that I'm really excited to see it progress and develop and see what's going to happen. I know there's going to be tea in this book and I'm already really excited. Like, I'm really looking forward to seeing how this book is going to go. Okay, hi. So if you had seen my last video, you would know that I am now in London. So hello, that's why there's a new background. Lighting's different, everything's different. I also got a haircut since the last clip. A lot has changed, but I am still reading The Secret History. I am up to page 192. I'm on starting chapter 5. So much was just revealed that I'm kind of like, what did I just read? So if you guys have read this book, because I don't want to say any spoilers, basically Henry just told Richard everything that happened. That's all you need to know, because if you've read the book, you know what I'm talking about. That's what I just got to, and my mind is like, what? Because I was finding this a little bit slow. Like, I was kind of like, okay, come on, get to it. It's gotten to it, and now I'm kind of like, where is this book gonna go? Like, what is gonna happen next? I have so much still to go. Like, anyways, I will update you as I go for more, but like, I literally am so, like, I have no idea where this book is gonna go. Okay guys, so it's a lot later and it's also the next day, but I have just finished reading The Secret History, and you may be wondering why there was a lack of vlog clips for this book. And that's because after the clip you just saw where I kind of reacted to something that happened and I was like, oh my god, what's happening? The book kind of went a bit downhill for me. It definitely did have a couple different like bumps and like highs once again, but I inevitably and in the end gave the book 2 stars out of 5. Now, I do want to say that I just think that this book is something that's just not for me personally. I think it's a very much, I'm in the minority here, and I fully know that, and I'm very much aware of that, so I don't want any of you guys like to watch this and like think, oh my god, wow, like, I can't believe Kevin got 2 stars. Like, I definitely think this is just a personal thing. I definitely don't think it's gonna be a universal thing that like everyone's gonna feel this way. I just think it was just the way I felt, and I just think that I found it to be a little bit boring. I got really bored when it went into book 2. I found book 2 to be very boring, and it just dragged, and I don't think it needed to be this long. I did find the writing to be a bit dense at times, and like some of the things that they'd be talking about and like, some of the dialogue, I was like, this really isn't relevant. Like, why is this included? Like, this could be cut out and all that kind of stuff. I also felt like the climax of this book happened at the end of book 1, which is like part 1 of the book. Like, I feel like that's when the climax of the book happens. The climax of like the actual book, like, I kind of saw it coming, and so I'm kind of like, I don't know, I didn't really feel anything towards it, and I didn't really like love any of the characters. Like there's just lots of different things that went on between them that I was kind of like, don't like that. I really don't know like what to say, because it's not like I'm like, oh my god, this book is terrible. Like I can understand why this is Jamie's favorite book. Like I completely get it. Like the writing and everything, I can see it's very beautiful at times, and like it's really stunning and it's really intellectual and everything like that. I get it. Like I do get that. And as I already said like previously when I was talking about reading The Great Gatsby, when I'm reading a book, I don't like to think too much about a book. Like I kind of just like to read it for enjoyment, and that's why I feel like part one of this, it did have the enjoyment level. I literally had that clip obviously by my reaction. Like if the book had stayed where it was at that exact moment, and if you guys know and have read the book, that's the part where like they're in the forest, there's like a ritual thing going on. I don't want to get into spoilers, but that's what's going on there, and that's why I was reacting like that. And I thought the book was going to continue going along that vibe, and it just didn't. I just felt like it dragged on. There was an investigation part that just dragged on for way too long, and I just didn't really care, and I was just bored, and I felt like there was just a lot of like, oh, I got drunk, I woke up, I didn't know what time it was, oh, I got drunk again, didn't know what time it was. I just felt like it was getting a bit repetitive, and yeah, that's all I'm gonna say, because as I said, I don't think this is a bad book. I can see why people like it. Like it all makes sense to me. I just personally think it's just not a book I vibed with. It's just not a book that I loved. I just think this is very much a me thing. It's not you, it's me. That's how I feel towards this book. Yeah, 2 stars to The Secret History. And yeah, so yeah, this is going to be the end of the video. I had a lot of fun doing this video, and I really enjoyed the books that I read, and like I think it was a really fun time, and I'm glad that I did this. Of course, I think we all know that Starfish was my favorite. It's one of my new favorite books of all time. Like obsessed with it, loved it so much, and I just really enjoyed all the rest of them, and I'm glad I read them, and I really liked doing this video. So yeah, that's going to be it for this video. Let me know down below in the comments your thoughts on these books. If you've read them yourself, what did you think of them? What did you rate them? I'd love to know. Also, once again, thank you so much to Likewise for sponsoring this video, and don't forget to check the link out down below in my description to go download the app and sign up for free. And don't forget to follow me over there at Irish Reader, and by doing that and downloading the app with the link in the description, you are helping my channel out, so I really appreciate that. And yeah, other than that, that's going to be it for this video, and I shall see you all next time in my next video. So goodbye guys.